Okay, so now you have the date, time, and location of the birth of the chart that you're looking at. Generally, most people start with their own charts. It's a very great way to sort of get to know yourself, get to know astrology before you venture out and study other charts. Eventually, you'll let your chart behind and you'll just keep studying the subject of astrology without being so focused on self. So you have your chart. We can look at both the Western on the top here, the circular chart, and Eastern chart. Okay, you'll notice that there's 12 divisions in the charts, and that is very important. The 12 divisions represent sort of 12 different spheres of your life, and we'll be going into the different descriptions of each sphere. So they're also known as the houses in astrology. Basically, it's just dividing up the whole sky 360 degrees into 12 different segments. So, if we want to look at this in a bit more of a way that makes a bit more sense to kind of get uh, spatially set into what that means, let's take our client. She lost her ear. Or Vitaly actually said that this looked like Donald Trump. I don't know, see a resemblance, blonde hair. Okay, so we've got our person whose chart we want to study. They come in the center here. So when a person is born, it's almost like if you imagine you were on the top of a mountain and you can see the line of the horizon around you. So you have sort of east and west and a line around that. So in a chart, if we're looking at the houses, this is the first house. It's out to the east. It's where the sun rises in the east. Seventh house over here is the west. So this person being born right here, if they look up, they see houses 12 through 6. So actually the 7th to 12th houses are in the top of the sky, and the 1st to 6th houses are underneath you in the darkness. So we have houses 1 through 6 underneath the horizon line, and houses 7 through 12 above the horizon line. So that's how we start with the houses. Then we start looking at the planets. So the moment of your birth decides your ascendant. So that means which sign is coming over the horizon when you're born. So for example, if you're born at sunrise in the month of, say, mid-August, your sun will be in Leo. So let's see what that would look like. Got my planets here. It's a good thing it's fall, so we have lots of different squash that we can use for this kind of thing. So if you're born at sunrise in the month of August, you're born when the sun is just coming over the horizon. So it would look like this, with the sun being in the first house right on that horizon line. Now let's say you're born on a full moon. So I've grabbed my moon, little white onion here. And if it's on a full moon, that means the moon is opposite the sun. So the moon would be in the 7th house. So that is sort of something you would see in the Western chart, is you would see the sun in the first house, the moon in the 7th house. So now let's go through the other planets. Those are sort of the three main important, I don't know about important, but biggest influences in your personality, the way your mind works, and sort of the character that you undertake in this life is the ascendant. Very important to remember. Ascendant, the sun, so where the sun was at the moment of your birth, and then where the moon was at the moment of your birth. We'll go into describing each of these different planets and sort of what they mean in more detail. But just so you know, those three are sort of three staples that help to explain and define who you are. But as you'll see, there are much more. So what else is very important? Well, in Vedic astrology, we look at 7 planets. So we don't deal with Pluto, Neptune, or Uranus in Vedic astrology. So again, we start with the sun and the moon and the ascendant. Then we also have the planet Mercury. I use the coconut because you need to be smart, Mercurian smart, to know how to open it. So we'll put Mercury down here in the third house, below the horizon. We've got Venus, introducing Venus, the planet of love and passion and of the heart. We'll put Venus here in the ninth house. We've got Mars. I got a little red pepper here, the fiery planet of the warrior. We'll put Mars right at home here in the eighth house. We have introducing Jupiter, the planet of wisdom on a higher level and of the teacher and guru and optimism. We'll put Jupiter right at home in the 12th house. And can't forget Saturn. We've got Saturn, the dark and heavy planet of discipline, of hard work, and of learning the harshest lessons in life, but thereby gaining the biggest profits and gains. So we'll put Saturn right at home in the 11th house. Then come two very important sort of other planets. They call them shadow planets, the north and south node of the moon. So you'll see these in the charts as well, in both Western and Vedic astrology charts. So in Vedic astrology, they're called Ketu and Rahu. So Ketu is the south node of the moon, Rahu is the north node of the moon. If you're a bit confused about these nodes and things, don't worry about it. I'll do more of a video on that later. So these are always placed opposite from each other. For this person here, we'll put Ketu in the 4th house and we'll put big Rahu in the 10th house. So in the circular version of the chart, that's what you would see, is these planets in these different places. And so then as the Earth moves, as the planets move, these planets move along their paths, but you always have that imprint of the birth chart that you had at the moment you were born. And yeah, I will say one little fun thing here. It might be too advanced, but you might find it interesting. Just like anything in life, anything predictive, any science, you have to take it for a grain of salt. Your personal experience is always the most important. And even an astrology chart is not sort of set in stone. There are even some stories where eventually a person will have such a sort of quantum or big leap in consciousness, in awareness, in understanding, in healing. And they say that a person can even take on a new chart. So you can leave your old birth chart behind as you're sort of born again into a new chart. So that's an interesting piece of information. You have to work through your karma, but you can work through it and jump to the new level just in this life here. Voila. More on that later. Goodbye.